It's 10 o'clock. It's time for the council to be in session. We have Ms. Sikowski. We have 2 members present. We need 8 more for a quorum.
haircut.
We have 9 members present. We need 1 for a quorum. We even had Rudy Savornich here and Nate Holden on time. Yeah, they want to speak so they can be heard that they are here. Yeah.
Mr. President,
You ready to legislate?
Mr. President,
Yeah, Mr. Holden?
I expect you to really badger the heck out of those people who are late.
Yeah. Okay, we have a quorum, so call the roll.
Talk about the late ones, Mr. President.
Vincent, Fuhr, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miskowski, Pacheco, Padilla, Ridley, Thomas, Warnich, Wax, Walters, Ferraro, 10 members present in the quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, the council will please come to order. This is a meeting of the City Council for the City of Los Angeles on the 6th day of October, the day that the National Football League rejected Los Angeles. Will live in infamy. But anyway, we have 15 council members, and their regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phone. The first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Savornich moves and Mr. Holden seconds, inasmuch as they did get here on time. If there's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
There's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Before beginning the regular agenda, you have several items to continue. Item number 4, request to be continued to October 20th.
October number 4, item number 4, continue until October 20th. If there's no objections, unanimous vote.
And item number 30, Councilmember Padilla has requested that be continued 1 week to October 13th.
Which item is that?
Item number 30.
Item number 30, continue until
1 week.
If there's no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Item number 5 is confirmation of city official.
Item number 5, is there any reason why we should vote on this item? Monique, would you take the center table so we can throw things at you? Mr. Hernandez, I will not allow a motion to reject, so you'll have to talk in favor.
And Mr. President, I rise to talk in favor of the nominee.
Okay.
And not only do I know Monique Moret and some of her work she's done as a public policy maker, but also her entire family. And I did want to rise. I was just talking to past Public Works Commissioner Lou Moret, and everybody knows her mom as Chief of Staff for Gil Lindsay, but also someone who spends a lot of time with Project Restore in the city of Los Angeles. And he was explaining to me he had a third daughter who sits on the Housing Commission up in San Francisco. And I kept on saying, what is it with the Moret family? And he says, we love the city. And I just wanted to recognize that, again, We have another appointee that comes from a long tradition of public service, and hopefully she will continue to be an asset for our city. And the commission that she's choosing to be a part of basically is a commission that is establishing its status with a city of importance and dealing with the kinds of issues that have to be dealt with in order for us to become a greater city. Again, congratulations, Monique, and I'm glad you're here.
Okay, Mr. Padilla?
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wanted to rise and echo Councilmember Hernandez's comments and to particularly point out that it's a good feeling to welcome some more young blood to the city family. Thank you.
I want you to know that I was 29 years old when I joined the city family. That was about 4 years ago, I think. Obviously, unless I hear to the contrary, we will reject this appointment. Is that the purpose? Okay, Mr. Hernandez moved. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Monique, in spite of my objections, you've been unanimously approved. Forthwith on that. Thank you for serving the city. Okay, next item.
Items noticed for public hearings, items 1 through 4.
We're going to hold one on the table. 2, 3. Anybody want to be heard on those items, 2 or 3? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Any discussion on 2 or 3? These are ordinances. If not, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Don't we have a 6 appointment? Yes. Next item.
Item number 6 is an appointment, Deborah Glasser to Chief Police Psychologist.
Deborah Glasser, is she here? Ms. Goldberg? Deborah Glasser, she doesn't appear to be here. Was she told to be here?
I don't recall that we told her to be here, to be honest with you. She's a longtime member of this unit. Remember that we exempted the position by earlier action, and under the charter, after an exempt position is, after a position is made exempt, the department then, through the personnel department, recruits, interviews, and makes a selection. This is their selection, and the committee recommends it.
Okay, we have item number 6, so prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that item. Next item.
Items for which public hearings have been held, items 7 through 23.
Are there any special by council members? Item 10.
Councilmember Chick has requested that item number 15 be referred to back to the Board of Public Works.
Is there any objections to sending item 23 to, item 15 to Public Works? Seeing none, that will be the order.
And item number 20, there's a request to continue for 60 days to December 7th.
Is there any objection to continuing 20 for 60 days? Seeing none, that will be the order. If there are no other exceptions, so prepare the roll on 7.
Special.
I'm waiting for that.
Okay.
Which one?
16 and 21 and 22. Both for brief questions.
16, 21, and 22. Okay. Prepare the roll on 7 through 23, with the exception of 10, 15, 16, 20, 21, and 22. Tabulate the vote.
14 eyes.
Those are approved. Forthwith on 9, forthwith. Whether it's called special. Okay, the next item.
Items for which public hearings have not been held, items 24 through 31.
24 through 31. We have somebody that wants to be heard on 25. We'll call that special. Anybody want to be heard on the other items?
Item 29, Mr. President.
Wait, let's see if there's a hearing. Anybody want to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed, except on 25. Mr. Hernandez?
I had questions on item 29.
Item 29, any other specials? Item 26. Any other specials?
Yeah, we did, 24, 24. Instead of the other one?
Yeah, no, only 24. I don't know what 24.
24 should be continued for 60 days.
Item 24 is to be continued for 60 days. If there's no objection, could I have a little attention here, please?
And the item we did earlier?
Huh?
The item that we did earlier, item 20, I guess should not have been continued. Would you want to
Okay.
reconsider that?
Yeah, there's, apparently, item 20 was requested to be continued 60 days, and that was a mistake, so we'll reconsider that, and it'll be on. So we have 24, 24 is continued. 25, we have a hearing. 26 has been called special. 27, 28, 29 has been called special. 30 has been called special. And 31 is okay, so prepare the roll on those items. Tabulate the vote.
14 eyes.
Those are approved. Item number 32 is the closed session item, so we'll hold that on the desk. The next item.
Next item, Mr. President, item 1.
Mr. Ridley Thomas, we have cards on item number 1. You want to hold it on the desk? Okay, we'll hold it on the desk. Next item.
Item number 10, called special by Councilmember Padilla.
Item number 10, Mr. Padilla. Mr. Padilla, did you want to be heard?
Just want to ask for an amendment to report back to ITGS in addition to Public Safety Committee.
Say that again.
To ask for the report back both to ITGS and Public Safety.
So you want it to go to committee?
Yes. Item 10.
Item 10 is the, relative to the San
Right,
Pedro City
report back to
Hall.
both committees.
Just report back to both committees.
Report back to both committees?
Right.
Instead of just
But
one committee.
I'm not opposing it, just in the report back.
Okay, you want it, I see, go to both.
Time limit on when it comes back?
Is there a time limit currently in place?
Well, you don't need a time limit for that. It's not a zoning issue or anything like that. But what we should have is, we want to get it
Oh, I'm
done
sorry,
in a
budget,
reasonable
fine.
time so we can take care of it, you know.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll expedite it in committee.
Can we get it back in, say, 2 weeks?
Budget and Finance meets
I'm sorry.
weekly, and what is the other committee?
Public safety and
It's currently reporting back to Budget and Finance.
Item 10, Hal.
Right.
What's that?
Item 10.
We're on item 10, yeah.
San Pedro City Hall, security.
Oh, San Pedro City Hall, okay.
Is that
Well,
in-
I'm going to let, I'm sorry, I thought it was security for here. I'll let Mr. Sfornich,
I think that's in Northridge, isn't it?
well, I'm going to tell you, we'll be happy to take, we'll be happy to incorporate you in the Valley situation and,
Still one in 2 weeks.
Okay, then there's no objections to referring that to,
just amending the other recommendation
Yeah.
number 3.
yeah. Mr. Sawernicki, do you want to say something on this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. Item number 10
is what we're asking is that the item go forward today, but within the context of the report, General Services Department has been asked to do a security needs assessment in regards to the context of what we need to do in the future. What Mr. Padilla is asking is that that report not only go to Public and Safety, but to ITGS also, and that the item go forward today and the reports come back, and I second Mr. Padilla's motion.
Thank you. Okay, you okay with it? All right. 2 years. Done.
Okay. All right, then. All right, prepare the roll on the report as amended. Tabulate the vote.
15 eyes.
That's approved. The next item,
Item number 16, called special by Councilmember Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, you call 16 special?
I did. I really just wanted to know whether or not in committee, because I'm not on that committee anymore, whether they looked at the MBE, WBE, DBE, of all of these organizations and groups. Do we have any information on that?
Morning.
Good morning.
My name's Alan Kawaguchi from the
Get
Bureau.
real close and don't look at me. It doesn't help.
All right. My name's Alan Kawaguchi from the Bureau of Engineering, and on the MBE WBEs, our Office of Contract Compliance did go through and check all the MBE WBEs of each of the firms.
So of the 5 real estate firms, are any of them minority or women or disabled owned?
2 of them are large firms that I'm not sure of the actual breakdown. I have to get a report out that has the final breakdown.
Could you have it by Friday of those? See, because we're approving for 3 years a whole bunch of firms. It would be good to know whether or not our outreach is working or not to try and get more applicants and more.
I have the report right here from Contract Compliance.
Okay. Maybe we could just hold this on the table and you could gather the information so that you could do that more quickly instead of us waiting while you do that.
That'd be fine.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you. That's my only question.
On the desk,
And
item
then when
16.
you've got the information, we'll call it back
Item
up.
16.
Okay, thank you.
Next item,
Item 21, called special by Councilmember Goldberg.
Ms. Goldberg, 21.
Yes, on 21, it's my understanding that the preferential parking district around the county courthouse will permit no parking at all during the daytime, Monday through Friday. And I'm wondering, frequently our preferential parking districts have 2-hour parking so that people can't go and stay all day. I understand that, but I'm wondering why it was 0 instead of 2-hour parking.
I don't know, do we have anybody that can answer that? Is it for security purposes? Is there anybody here on that? Mr. Bernson, where's, maybe?
He was here.
Well, let's hold this on the desk also.
All right.
Next item is 22,
Well, I understand on this one that we're talking about a 2-hour limit.
That's correct. 2 hours everywhere throughout the whole district.
And that's just Monday through Friday, is that correct?
Yes.
And then nights and weekends, there's no restrictions?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
okay, anything else on item 22?
Yeah, we on 21 or 22?
22.
Oh, okay.
We'll be right back.
If not, prepare the roll on 22. Oh, Mr. Hernandez, I'm sorry.
Mr. President, is there someone here from DOT? I just wanted to know if these two, and I'll talk about 22 because that's before us, but 21 and 22, I have the same general questions. DOT has a procedure that you go through in order to determine if preferential parking should be administered.
Yes, we do.
And for example, every time we've gone through that procedure, at least in my district, the determination has been it doesn't happen. Did these two applications, 21 and 22, go through that procedure?
22 did go through that procedure.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is that procedure? Detail.
The procedure is, this is Sergio Valdez with the Department of Transportation, is that we do a survey of the area, first of all, to find out what the parking impact is. We have to find that in at least 4 blocks, 75% of the available parking spaces are occupied, and that 25% of the spaces are occupied by outsiders, by non-residents. And if it meets those criteria, then it is considered to be parking impacted, and that preferential parking would help in relieving the intrusion from the neighborhood.
Okay, and
Into
how
the
long does
neighborhood from
that
the
process
businesses.
take?
The whole process, see, we do that, we then go through, we hold a public hearing. After the public hearing, a hearing examiner writes a report to the general manager in turn writes a report to council. It's then heard before Transportation Committee, and all in all, the process takes about a year to go from start to finish.
So 22's gone through that process?
Yes, it has. It's gone through every single
Yeah.
step.
And members of council, the reason I wanted to bring it up, and it's not that I'm opposing it, it's just that if we were to take a map of the city of LA, and we were to determine on that map, and I'm going to ask DOT to do this, to tell us where preferential parking exists, we would clearly be talking about the tale of two cities. And what we would be finding out, and I can say this with a lot of confidence, that the more affluent areas of the city, when it comes to parking, their streets are more private than the streets in the poor areas of the city. That would be clearly shown. And I need us to produce that map.
Okay. Yes.
Because then we got to really start dealing with the issue. See, I'm talking about Pico Union because of things like Convention Center and Staples Centers and everything else. But as the more affluent areas, and I don't hesitate to say that, feel that their houses, which are bigger, have to have this right of a private street. We're getting these kinds of requests. And their streets are being used because in those same areas, we are putting establishments and institutions that are impacting those streets. But I am convinced that we have two cities when it comes to preferential parking. So again, I think the procedure is important. I think that parking as a whole is becoming a major issue in the city, the more of these districts we create. But I also think that the policy for some reason is not working equally in the city, because as I've tried to create a preferential district, and I'll use the area of Chinatown, above Chinatown where the school district was, the process said, you don't deserve it. It doesn't happen. And that was really bothersome to me because you can't find parking when institutions like Evans Adult School was built without parking, when the reality is you have the kind of density you have there and the proximity to downtown LA, and everybody parks on their streets. But the system didn't work for them, but it works in other communities. And so I want to do an analysis of that, and that's part of what I'm requesting.
Just for your information, we actually do have a preferential parking district in Boyle Heights that's been there for about 2-3 years now. That was installed, and that was because of a famous little landmark that's on the corner of First and Lorena Street there, spillover from employee parking, and so there are, you're correct in that there are more in the affluent areas, but we are getting more requests in what I would call less affluent areas now because of greater impacts that's taking place now.
And that's why I think if we see the map and we can look at the policy, how we establish rent, that might make a tremendous difference.
We will prepare something for that for your office, yes.
Thank you.
Since this is still on 22.
Take 22 first.
Okay, prepare the roll on 22. Oh, Mr. Holden, I'm sorry.
No, I know, no, but I think.
Mr. President, members, this is a commercial area or residential?
It's a residential area south of Ventura Boulevard, east of
Is residential
Sepulveda.
just, the courthouse is located in the residential area?
No, that's a different one. That's number 21.
That's
We're on
21,
22 right now.
22 now, all right, fine. And how many streets are we covered here?
We have approximately 17, 18 streets covered, depending on how you define blocks. But 17 to 18 blocks covered in this area.
17, 18 blocks, which is the minimum standards for?
Minimum size is 6 blocks.
6 blocks?
Yes.
Although sometimes they go less?
There have been emergency cases where they have gone less, but they go through a different process.
So this proposal is in compliance with your minimum standard?
Yes, it is. It isn't fully in compliance with the minimum standards.
Thank you.
Move it.
Okay, prepare the roll on 22. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Forthwith, please.
That is approved forthwith on that. We'll go back to 21 now. Mr. Burnson?
Yes, members of the council, The reason this hasn't been through a process is because the courthouse is currently being built.
Mr. Hope, wait a minute. Mrs. Waller said she voted no on that last item, so we'll allow her to be recorded as a no vote. Mr. Burnson.
Yeah, this has not been through the process because the courthouse is in the process of being built. But when it is built, the streets which are, it's on the edge of a industrial area, and which we are not going to restrict the parking on the streets nor on Plummer, which would be the main street running east-west, but merely on the residential streets which go off of Plummer to the north. And when the courthouse is built, we're trying to avoid the problem of having these people endure the time that it takes to put this into place, because it is definitely going to be needed. The county will build parking, but they're going to charge for it, and consequently, people will be forced to park, or some people will park to avoid the charge, will park on these residential streets. There is adequate street parking, I believe, for people that want to avoid that, on Plummer and on the streets which run to the south of Plummer, which are in the industrial area. So I am asking that we approve this now. We're also going to ask the county to, if they will, normally the residents pay for the parking fee, but we're asking the county to pay for the parking fee that the annual parking fee for the residents. Whether they agree or not, that'll be up to the two supervisors that both represent the area close by. I think there's a possibility that will happen, but I would ask for approval now so we can have this in place when the courthouse opens. So I would ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Hernandez, you going to give the same speech?
Yeah, members of the council, this is a little bit different than the other one. And again, when we talk about the Staples Center, for example, we are waiting for the 60 days after it opens and a study to determine whether preferential parking should be provided to the residents of Pico Union, because that's when we're going to know when the impact actually hits. Now, as much as I want to support Mr. Burnson because he is doing a great job, I think it's incumbent on us to start asking different kinds of questions. And part of those questions has got to be, why is the county creating incentives for people to park on residential streets when their parking structure is supposed to provide for their clients? And they shouldn't be charging, if that is the argument. They do. And I think that we need to put that burden on the county who developed the courthouse. But we're not going to know whether that's the case if we create this preferential parking district prior to the opening of the courthouse. And I'm willing to entertain a motion that everything start, because what the agreement is for the Staples Center, for example, that an emergency ordinance could be introduced if it has an impact on residential neighborhoods. And again, if I could amend yours to be that an emergency ordinance could be introduced if the courthouse has an impact. Huh?
Separate motion, I'll second it. Just make a separate motion, don't tie it to this.
Well, no, my motion's already in place, Mr. Pritchett.
Okay.
And I'm trying to tie yours into the same kind of agreement I have.
I don't know what kind of agreement you have. Why don't you just do this? I'll support your motion.
Yeah, we don't know the impact of the preferential, if you're going to need preferential parking.
We know the impact is going to be there.
How do we know it? Has a study been done?
All you've got to do is look at the courthouses that are in place, such as in Van Nuys and other areas. Now, what they did in San Fernando, they did, although it's a very small courthouse, they did provide parking. It's metered, of course, but it's not, the different type of thing. In the courthouse in Van Nuys, they charge by the hour, I believe, and there is a big impact there on the area around that courthouse. It's guaranteed that there will be an impact, there's no question, just as there will be around Staples.
Okay, so then what you're asking us to do is to support this knowing it's outside of policy.
It is not outside of policy. This is a policy they've established. We haven't established this as a council policy.
I think
This
we
is a
did, Mr.
policy.
Brinson.
No, I'm sorry, this is a policy, the department has, is that right?
It's a policy that was established under the rules and procedures that were approved by council.
Okay.
Okay, your time is up, and now we'll get the real answer by Mr. Holden.
And the new policy permits what to happen?
The policy has always been that in order to go forward, we have to first find parking impacts. And the alternative to that is to introduce an emergency preferential parking district motion.
But I never, in a commercial area? This courthouse is located in a commercial area?
We have, the courthouse is located in an industrial park in Northbridge.
Same difference. Industrial park, they have a commercial around there,
Nor-
industries.
North of the industrial park, there is a residential area.
Oh, they're so far away, they're not even affected by it. And I've already done everything for Mr. Burnson. But, you know, when you go to the courthouse, whether you go to one downtown, or you go to one in Inglewood, you go to the major courthouse, who do you see there mostly trying to defend themselves?
Traffic violators, I guess.
No, poor people. And that's going to be an impact on them, first of all. Then they may have to park illegally to get into the courthouse. Or they can't afford the parking that's going to be around the perimeter of the courthouse. You know, it's a real hardship to begin with. You know, they have no problem citing some of these poor people. It's easy flow. You know, I like to see how it works out first. I like to put some parking meters out there. Mr. Burnson, it's going to, those parking lots are going to be, can we control the rate that they would charge the people who have?
We have no control over what the council.
That's what I'm thinking about. I mean, these are poor people who will be going to courthouse.
Parking on the street, just not in the residential area.
Oh, residential, I'm fine, I have no problem with that. Well, you said run the perimeter of the courthouse, didn't you? On the same streets?
Adjacent to the courthouse is, the courthouse
How
is
far away are
located
these streets?
in an industrial park, and there is parking in that industrial
In
park.
the industrial park, you can park there? Even
Yes,
with this preferential parking?
But north of this courthouse is where the residential portion is, north
So
of
this
Clover.
just applies to the residential portion only,
Yes, preferential parking is only for residential.
not
areas.
for the,
Yes, not for the industrial park, no, that would stay as is.
Mr.
I'm
Hernandez?
sorry about that.
Mr. President, in further discussions with Mr. Burnson, I think we both can reach agreement that we use the emergency ordinance type procedure where he's allowed to institute preferential parking on a temporary basis when the courthouse opens, that we will have a system in place for that purpose, that will happen. And then, after further study, if we need to make it a permanent issue because the parking problem persists, that would happen. And I'm willing to agree to that, he's agreed to that, and that would be the amendment.
Okay, did you get the amendment, Marie? All right, then we have 21 as amended.
Just a quick question.
Mrs. Goldberg?
So it's zero parking in the interim? It's
No,
not,
in the-
it's
in-
not 2-hour parking?
In the interim, right now, as I understand it, the motion that's been put on the table is that that'll be introduced once an impact is actually found.
No, but-
As I understand it, Mr. Hernandez.
Once the courthouse opens.
Right, once the courthouse opens.
Okay,
We'll
so
make the
then
assessment.
nothing will happen until the courthouse opens?
Yes,
Well,
nothing
we
will
want to
happen.
we want to have something in place when the courthouse opens. That's the object of
Okay,
doing
and what
this.
will happen when the courthouse opens?
As I understand from the motion that Mr. Hernandez put on the table, at that time, we would go ahead and post preferential parking signs.
And what will those signs say?
If, from reading the resolution, the signs would say no parking 8 to 6 during Monday through Friday.
No parking at all from 8 to 6?
That's
Yes.
right. In the
And
residential
what I don't
portion.
understand is why we wouldn't say 2-hour parking from 8 to 6.
The department isn't, usually we do ask for 2-hour parking during the day. The department's really not moved, we haven't made a recommendation
There is a reason.
as to what it should be.
You know what the reason is?
No,
Because
what?
people who live there, who park in front of their house, shouldn't be limited to 2-hour parking because of the impact of the courthouse.
Well, then they could put their car in the driveway or in the garage.
If they are able to do that.
Going to court may take longer than 2 hours.
I understand that, then you would not be able to park there.
Well, but you don't know that's going to take longer than 2 hours when you arrive. You think you're going to go do something simple.
Well, and they've never been to court before, clearly. Well, I can't support this. If it were 2 hours, I would support it, but with zero parking, I think what we're doing is privatizing public streets.
Okay. All right, prepare the roll on the 21 as amended. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes, 2 noes.
That is approved. Next item,
Item number 25, call special, you have a card?
Yes, we have cards on number 9. 9 has been taken care of already, so I don't know if they're still here or not, but number 25, we have Al Mann and Kathy Knight. Two people that have Santa Monica addresses. This is the city of Los Angeles, Mr. Mann, you,
Yeah, I'm Alex Mann. I'm here from Focus. We are very much opposed to this proposal to increase the copying fees from 10 to 25 cents. I think each of you have gotten the information sheet we prepared on this.
what item is that?
It's 990002, Supplement 74, S74.
I know, but then we have recommendations for 1 through 16.
Well, that's to the recommendation of the Intergovernmental Committee was to...
It's item number 1.
Yeah, item 1 of that group of items. Now, I agree with Mr. Holden that this should not be changed. It's going to impose a lot of hardship on people, particularly poor people. Secondly, with the scandals at the police department and the school district, we of the public are going to perceive this as an attempt to discourage us from coming to the city hall to see how you folks are running the government and how the departments are operating. And additionally, the cost of copying, despite what the staff report says, outside of City Hall has gone down as low as 6 cents if you do single copies and 3 cents if you do them in large quantities. And additionally, this would impose a large hardship on homeowner groups and community groups who sometimes come in and copy large numbers of documents. It would be a real financial hardship for the many small groups around the city, and it will not resonate well with the citizens who will see this as a device to keep us away from the city hall. And also, the city is a nonprofit entity, but in the staff report, they keep making comparisons as though this city operation was comparable to a private corporation that works for profit. And that's wrong-headed.
Sometimes it's just to recover our cost.
Well, at 25 cents a copy, it's exorbitant. 10 cents works. We like it. It's not hardship.
Okay.
And finally, the staff report implies that the only kind of copying done in the city is campaign statements. This would apply to copying throughout all city agencies, and it would just be a very bad piece of public relations for the council to approve this. And I thank you. Got any questions? I'd be happy to take them.
Supporting the committee report, that's what you're doing. That's right. You're supporting committee report. Thank you.
Yes, I am. But I thought they needed some of the detailed reasoning on this.
Thank you. Most appropriate.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Holden.
we have Kathy Knight that wants to be heard.
Yes, the address I put is Santa Monica, but Spear the Sage Council, who I'm representing, does environmental work all over LA County. And we just want to call to your attention that these nonprofit environmental groups don't have very, very low budgets. And so we would urge that you consider that when you think about setting these higher prices. Thank you.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Mr. Goldberg?
Yes, I'd like to ask that we change the recommendation on items 10 and 13. On item 10, the CLA's office recommended a disapprove, and the reason they stated is that if it get complete local control over group homes with 6 or fewer clients, the chances are very high, in my opinion, and their opinion as well, that what we'll end up with is more of these groups concentrated in the city of Los Angeles, as smaller outlying areas may ban them altogether. And what you end up then with is a higher concentration. I think that that the notion that you don't want an undue concentration in any one locality makes sense, but I think there are remedies for that now. And I do believe that this should be a disapprove, and I will move that we change it from approve to disapprove. On item 13, tag you lose anti-graffiti, remove someone's driver's license for tagging. I think it's an inappropriate consequence. An appropriate consequence is to make them take it off, to pay for it, and so forth and so on. But in a city like Los Angeles, a person who has a job, who's stupid enough to be tagging and gets caught, needs to still go to work. And I don't think that we would want to deprive them of that. I have no problem with saying they should do hundreds or even thousands of hours of cleanup of graffiti. I have no problem with fining them for the cost of doing it and all of that. But taking someone's driver's license away is, I think, is an inappropriate and unconnected consequence between the crime and the punishment. So I would urge that we move 10 and 13 to disapprove, and I hope I can get a second.
Okay. Is there anyone else want to be heard on these? Mr. Padilla?
Yes, just on item number 10, Councilmember Goldberg, if you'd be willing to maybe meet a little halfway on the driver's license component of that piece, and maybe
That's item 13.
13, I'm sorry. Maybe someone who's convicted, because it's pretty tough to convict somebody on tagging these days, put restrictions on their driver's license, not take it away completely, but on a probationary basis where they can only go to
No
school
problem with
or work.
restrictions at all. I have no problem with that at all. That's fine.
Okay.
To or from school, to or from work, that's it. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
Okay, so is
It's
that,
just the outright removal I was worried
is that an amendment to the
That's-
amendment, or?
That's fine. So then it would become approve if amended.
Correct.
Okay, and I will be very happy with that. That's a better solution.
Okay,
Can we
thank you.
close the public hearing? Candido Mars wants to be heard on 25. I didn't see his card.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mrs. Goldberg, I spent 14 years with Van Nuys Division cleaning up graffiti. You know, it's something that we do every weekend. And, you know, I understand what you're saying about the driver's license, but they don't care. It's not someone that just all of a sudden stops by and says, you know what, I'm going to take. These are people that do it over and over and over again. And some of us are finally getting tired because you know why we spend $2.5 million? It's become a business. People are making money off this. People are continually graffiti. This is the truth, Ms. Goldberg. You have a little grin, but I've been doing it for 14 years every weekend. And please, there has to be a consequence. If that means losing your license, then so be it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. All right. Mr. Holden, the chair of the committee, distinguished chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, members, for many, many years, in fact, they used to discuss this issue when I was in the Senate as it relates to item 10, and that is that the group homes in residential areas, even we, upon occasion, have adopted a policy to ask that the local government have control over group homes in residential areas. There have been an over-concentration of them. There was a time when we did not have control over liquor licenses, liquor outlets, on or off sale. And then we were given the responsibility to provide for conditional use permit to address the question of over-concentrated liquor stores. And now we have the same situation when it comes to these home care centers. I'm sure many of you have raised the question before. If it turns out that there's an over-concentration, today you can't do anything about it because you're regulated by the state. And perhaps some of you don't want, shall I say, the monkey on your back of being empowered to make the decision to say, no more, we've had enough. You have 4 or 5 in this one block, and so that's an over-concentration. But if you can easily turn to the community person who's complaining or organization and say, it's not my jurisdiction, I don't have any control over it, then of course, that's correct. It'll all go away. But it won't go away. The problem will get even worse in many cases. I think that we should not shirk our responsibility. I think we should face it head on. We have an opportunity to say yes or no to liquor stores. We have an opportunity to say yes or no to an overconcentration of these residential homes, home cares. I mean, how many times have you gotten a phone call or a community organization voting saying, hey, Mr. Holden, or whomever they call, enough is enough? And that happens over and over again. So I got to tell you that I support this recommendation, notwithstanding what the staff is recommending. Staff don't want to do anything about it either. On the terms of the graffiti, the amendments, fine, whatever you want, but these taggers have cost us hundreds of millions of dollars every year, year in and year out. Now, I have a social conscience like everybody else, but sometimes people lose their lives falling off freeways. Sometimes they lose their lives when they've aggravated a community person where they go out and they shoot somebody. They just get fed up with it. And I think that's wrong. You can never take the law in your own hand to that extent, or at all. So I would say to you, Mr. Chairman and all, sure, if you want to amend it to say you have a 3-month suspending, it's difficult to catch a tagger, take him to court, convict him, and then say, okay, now we're going to suspend your license. There's no period of time. I think put a period of time. 3 months, 6 months, Mr. Padilla, I have no problem with that. But it is virtually impossible. You can catch a roach in the ghetto easier than you can do that. Oh, what is a roach? In any case, I would say to you that, no, I would support a friendly amendment.
Your roach has left the barn. And your time is up.
I support a friendly amendment, but I think you got to put a timeline on it.
Mr. Holden,
3 months or 6 months.
Mr. Holden, your time is up. Mr. Hernandez.
Members of the council, I rise to support Councilmember Goldberg on this issue, and I want to explain why. When we go to the California League of Cities, Los Angeles is looked at as the big gorilla. We're the big city. When it comes to funding for federal monies and so forth, all these smaller municipalities, and in the county of Los Angeles, there's 82 of them, look at us as the ones who get all the money. And so they strongly feel that we should deal with most of the social issues of our society. And so all you have to do is go to a city just north of here, like Glendale, or go to Pasadena, or go to Burbank, at Culver City, and ask yourself, how much of their share of affordable, low-income housing are they building? How are they using their redevelopment money to deal with the housing crisis that exists in this region? And what you find out is the issues we debate on this floor are real when it comes to our constituents. They'll want people who live in Los Angeles to work at their low wages, but not provide housing for them. And so what happens is, basically, these kinds of mandates create a heavier burden on urban areas. And when I participate at the National League of Cities and I deal with these committees where someone from a city of 30,000 has an equal vote that I do, as a city of 3.5 million, you need to understand that the issues and the way we look at those issues are completely different. They don't want to be urbanized. They don't want to have low-income housing. They will not want to have group homes. And we have to deal with those realities, which is why I think the housing department of the city of Los Angeles recommended that this stay as a statewide issue. And we don't give that local control, because what happens is their vote becomes equal to ours, even though the burden is not equal. We are a city of 3.5 million people. And the reality is it doesn't compare to a city of 60,000 or 90,000, especially when you have to deal with the issues of homeless and affordable housing, and now group homes. And so I think we should abide by the recommendation of our own housing department, who has to deal with this issue, and abide by the recommendation of the CLA, and basically disapprove this particular resolution, because it's not in the best interest of the city of Los Angeles. It is in the best interest of a lot of other municipalities who don't want to deal with these issues.
Savarnich.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I would suggest that on each one of these 16 resolutions that we take them one by one, because some of us may want to vote on some versus the others. And I would like to have clarification on item number 16 in a moment, so Mr. Karsh can be prepared to clarify what that is. But in regards to item number 10, in regards to the local control over group homes, as you may recall, this has been an ongoing debate in this city council for quite a few years now. And one of the things I think that we always seem to miss is two facts. One, economics has more to do with the location of group homes than any other factor in the city of Los Angeles, because indeed they are a business. And individuals run these as a business. And where they can most afford to purchase these homes are in low to moderate income neighborhoods. So when we talk about a concentration of these types of facilities, it is not the more affluent parts of the city to which there is an over-concentration of these types of facilities. Indeed, it is the moderate to low-income parts of the city where they are. A couple of years ago, we produced a map here in the City Council which showed where those homes are located. And members of the council, I beg to differ with some of your position that there is a quote-unquote some type of fair distribution of these types of facilities across the city. Number one, it is not. And if there is an exception to some of the municipalities around the city of Los Angeles not taking their fair share of these types of facilities, again, economics have more to do with it than anything else. If you can purchase a home for $100,000 to $150,000 or less, and then as part of your business contract with the state or the county in order to house 6 individuals in that home as they begin or complete their recovery, there's more of an incentive for you to make a bottom line profit on that business than it is if you have to buy a home for $750,000. In fact, you wouldn't. So, Mr. President, members of the council, I think we need to consider that aspect of this debate, and that has been the historic debate in the city of Los Angeles. Number two, Mr. Karsh, if you could please explain what item 16 does, I would appreciate it.
There is an initiative that is being circulated by several cities in Kern County. This has not been approved by the Attorney General yet, much less by the Secretary of State, so there's a long way to go. But we do have a copy of the draft. Those cities brought it to their division of the League of Cities, and they wanted to get early endorsement of it. What it calls for is a drastic restructuring of state finances to be moved
Karsh,
over.
Mr. President, I can't hear Mr. Karsh from where I'm standing, and I'm sure no one else can either.
Herman, would you make sure that these people who don't belong there leave and we have a little quiet in the council chamber?
Thank you, Mr. President.
We all want to hear Mr. Savornich.
No, I'd like to hear Mr. Karsh.
The proposal essentially says cities and counties have been suffering greatly from the ERAF takeaway of money, property tax money that goes to the schools. Therefore, we are proposing a drastic countermeasure, and that is that 1/2 of the state's sales tax, and the sales tax that the state receives is either number 1 or number 2 in state revenue sources. Take away 1/2 of that and give it to cities and counties. This would be a tax bite of around $3 billion, I believe, and it would leave most of the state agencies in a 50% or a higher reduction in their revenue. That would include the Department of Corrections, it would include Transportation Agency, it would include virtually all parts of state government except for those dealing with education. That is protected by Proposition 98. Bottom line is, yes, cities have suffered, and counties particularly so, have suffered from the redirection of the property tax under the ERAF program since 1992. But this particular proposal by the Kern County cities, number one, it has not even gotten to the Attorney General yet. Number two, there are a lot of undefined terms. And number three, the impact on the state would be considerable, and there would be there would definitely be retaliation by the state on any programs that would be of benefit to counties and cities, and therefore we have recommended disapproval of that.
Before we continue, Mr. Savornich has asked that we take these one at a time, and I have no objections to that. I'm sure no one else does. And what we'll do is, after we finish the debate, Mr. Karsh will give us a brief outline of what each one means. Ms. Galanter.
Thank you. I'm a little confused about how best to handle the problem about the group homes, because Mr. Savornich is right. Within the city of Los Angeles, it would be very helpful to us to have local control so that we'd be able to determine where we have an over-concentration or an under-concentration. The problem that I see, particularly in the part of the city that I represent, which actually abuts more other jurisdictions than it does other LA City Council districts, is the problem Mr. Hernandez alluded to, where what we have is other cities saying, well, we're not going to have any whatever it is. It's all too much, too great a concentration. And the problem is still there, and the city of Los Angeles gets left holding the bag. That's true for sewage treatment, it's true for affordable housing, and actually on the west side these days it's true even for rich people's housing. The fact is that we have a neighboring city that's simply put a building moratorium on all multifamily construction. There will be none. And there's still plenty of people who work there, and they're all looking for housing in the city of LA. So what that has taught me is that local control is fine when it's us controlling what's going on, but if those other people are using their local control to leave us holding the bag, then we have a problem. And I don't think this is an easy question. It's really too easy for us to say, if we had local control, everything would be fine. The problem is that we don't get it all by ourselves, and we do wind up dealing with everything that the other cities decide they don't want to deal with. And we've got to find a way to not be caught in that position.
Mr. Wax?
That's true, Ruth. It also works the other way. I mean, we say no guns being fired a week before New Year's in Los Angeles, but another city doesn't, and so it's all there. It can work the opposite way around. The reason this is a tough issue is because on the one hand, Ms. Goldberg is right by saying that if you have local control, it'll make it more difficult to site these facilities. There will be less of them. But the other side of that coin is the very reason there would be more difficult to do it is because by having the state do it, you're letting the state do something you're not willing to do yourself because it's politically too difficult. And I think in the last analysis, the buck stops here. We've got to have the debate, and it's not very courageous to say, I won't do it here because my constituents don't want it, so I'll have someone else impose it on me, and then I'll tell them I have nothing to do about it. If it's important enough, then sometimes we have to make decisions that may not be popular, but we think that they're important enough to make. But the point is, you engage your public in the debate on that. This would be a classic example of the type of issue that could be debated citywide, neighborhood by neighborhood, taking into account not just what's in one neighborhood, but the needs of a greater city and how you go about the issue of, say, siting facilities like this. We'll never have that debate, we'll never have that education, we'll never have that discourse if we leave it up to someone else to do the tough work for us. In the short run, you'll get more sites. In the long run, you'll continue to foster the negative feelings that people have without having any real input over their area. So I really don't believe that we ought to have someone else do our dirty work for us. I think that it's our job and our responsibility to deal with it here, as difficult as it may be. So I think the issue of local control, not only on this issue, but on a whole range of issues, is better, although I recognize the problem. I don't deny the problem that you start with of the difficulty of doing it and the impact that that has. But I think in the end, that's what we're supposed to be doing. And we shouldn't only be doing it, us in legislative bodies, but we should be doing it with our own constituents in all of our own neighborhoods. To wit, a citywide system of neighborhood councils, which as one of its issues debates the very difficult issues like this, and not only from a neighborhood thing, but citywide, as they all come together to discuss, well, just where are we going to have them, and just what responsibility are you going to take in this, and I think that kind of dialogue is good. That's the only way you ever get to change some of the public attitudes toward this. Otherwise, we're going to have what we have now. Nobody wants them, someone else does it, and it just goes on that way. And then one day there'll be some statewide initiative, and everyone will take it out on that. They'll really restrict it because they'll have, it's whether it's tax limits, term limits, there'll be limits like this. That's how it always ends up being when you leave it to that kind of a process. So I think we ought to be willing to, difficult as it is, deal with it ourselves with our own constituents.
All right, Mrs. Chick?
Well, my colleague just exactly said some of the things that I was thinking in terms of the pros and cons of giving up taking more local control. And I agree that it would put more of a burden on our shoulders, and it would make these decisions much more difficult if we have more involvement in the decisions. But that doesn't mean that we still wouldn't be focused on doing the right thing. It just means that we wouldn't be able to punt up to the state. I remember a year or so ago convening a meeting in my Valley office of a variety of agencies that operate group homes, and also some people from the state regulatory agencies. And colleagues, what I learned is that there are so many different kinds of group homes and so many different kinds of state regulations, varying from really appropriate regulations to some that are extremely loose and really don't focus on quality care, that don't mandate the proper supervision, for instance, in homes that supervise adolescents. And if the city took on more of this responsibility, some of the positives that could come from that are making sure that these homes are run in a very responsible way, to make these homes such that our communities do not have reasons to fear or to object. As a former social worker, I believe very strongly that the city of Los Angeles must have these small group homes throughout our city, that these are populations that need help, that need supervision, that need places to go. And with the deinstitutionalization that took place many years ago, these group homes are it. We can't turn our backs on that. But by taking over more local control, we can make them better. We can make the placement of them make more sense in certain instances and make it more equitable. But what we can't do is lose courage in the face of potential neighborhood opposition and start tossing from one to the other. So I'm going to vote for this because I think to do otherwise is to say that I don't have the courage to stand up for what I think is right, and I don't want to take on a greater struggle by having more ability to regulate what goes on in our city. So I hope that that's what we all go ahead and do.
Mr. President, members of the council, I think I need to explain our recommendation and why we don't agree with what you just said. And the reason is that the question is not the City of Los Angeles, and the question is not your interest in proceeding with doing these things. It is the fact that if this legislation was to pass, and the reason for this resolution, and the reason for legislation in the past to do this, is to in fact lock it out of certain cities. They have every intent. There are cities in the state, whether it's affordable housing or is to make sure that this does not happen in their city at all, over and out. And so what will happen is that once you start to lock out large pieces of real estate in the state, the pressure on the City of Los Angeles and other like-minded cities will become increasingly larger. And the problem of our willingness to do the right thing then means there is more concentration within the city boundaries than there is in the rest of the other cities. This is about local control to prevent it from happening. And so the choice is not an easy one. And in no way is our recommendation in a fashion to say that you're not going to do the responsible thing. And in almost every instance, in my entire career, local control is what I promote, and I believe that the city should have the right. However, that'll have to remain for history to decide. Mr. Burnson. But the fact is that this is about certain cities not wanting these things, like a lot of other things, and that's the issue, not the other. Just so you understand by voting for this, this is what you're voting for. It's an entirely different problem.
Okay, Mr. Burnson.
Isn't this a little redundant? I'll tell you why. What about the Santa Barbara decision that says that you cannot defer, what is a family? 5 members or 6 members or less can be a family if they're not related or whatever the case may be. And plus the fact that the state supersedes us and are able to approve automatically up to 12. Is that correct?
I believe that's the case.
Yeah. So how do we get around, even if we approve this, how do we get around the how does anybody get around the Santa Barbara decision, which is a federal court decision that says that you cannot stop people who are unrelated from living together in groups of 6 or less? I don't understand. I mean, you can have all legislation in the world, but if the federal courts have ruled that 6 members unrelated can be a family and can live as a group, you're not going to be able to undo that. You're not going to be able to stop them from doing that, regardless whether you have local control or not.
I'm not familiar with those.
Well, I'm very familiar with the Santa Barbara decision, and I can tell you, perhaps Mr. Karsh can give us a lightness on that. This is a little bit redundant, isn't it?
Yes, sir. The city attorney has advised that state and federal law, both statutory and decisional, protects the ability of government to place group homes of 6 or fewer in R1 zones. And this has been a source of contention by cities for years and years, and periodically it comes up at the League of Cities, and we go through this same debate, and it doesn't matter what the league takes.
So we're going to overturn the federal courts? Yeah. We're not.
No
So,
way.
I mean, this
No
is
way.
a redundant...
That's correct.
It really is redundant. I mean, I support local control, and I'll probably vote for it, but realistically speaking, we're not going to be able to change that.
Okay, Mrs. Walters.
Thank you, Mr. President. I listened to all the speakers very carefully, and to those who feel that we should have more local control, and it would be better and we could face our problems. I'm reminded of a senior citizen development that was either in Ms. Chick's district or Mr. Burnson's. It was West Valley, as I recall, for senior citizens, and people came down here and opposed it. They did not want that in their district. But we voted for it. Yes, we voted for it. But I'm not sure it was a unanimous vote that we voted for, and other people have come with similar things. I have had a good deal of exposure to caregivers for retarded adults or for developmentally disabled adults, and it's an ongoing problem for them to try to find suitable places, suitable homes in decent neighborhoods for these youngsters to live, particularly those over the age of 18. And I think that unless we are willing for each member, each of the 15 members, to deal with this and say, yes, I am ready to see that in my district and I will stand up for it, it may do better leaving it in the state's hands, looking at it from the point of view of the welfare of the persons involved. And I think the county has the authority now to investigate the quality of care in these homes and to make reports to the state. So I would say a no vote on this. I've seen just so much. People don't want schools. The school district has got kids coming out of its ears. They're looking at some property in CD9, and this group of folks came to see me. They don't want to, of course, they don't want to lose their homes, but there's no radar, no antenna out to the needs of the school district, the needs to educate these children. And we get NIMBY-ish very quickly. So I would support a disapproval of both these items.
Mr. Fuhrer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just regarding item 10, I think the two most salient comments from my standpoint came from Mr. Deaton and Mr. Burnson. Mr. Burnson's point that this, in fact, is kind of, even if we sought to do this, it's sort of a toothless thing because of existing court decisions. And Ron's point, which we see again and again, people talk, even in the secession context, people have said, well, how come in Los Angeles you have X, Y, or Z? Our surrounding cities don't have that. And the answer is that in so many cases, surrounding cities have chosen not to accept the responsibility for social issues, to promote certain social goods, even if it involves people who aren't always popular. They've simply sought to block them out and let the city of LA, by default, take care of those needs. That isn't the kind of city that approach of saying no and pushing things elsewhere is an approach that will continue and it will accelerate if we allow it to, and it won't if we don't. I know in my own council district, on a couple of very specific occasions, there were a couple group homes that were sought to be sited in my council district, and they were very controversial. The neighbors didn't want those group homes. And we said that those are homes that are serving an important social function and that the off-site impact of those homes is not going to be as detrimental as you are thinking. We can condition them and otherwise. And in fact, in both cases, after the contentiousness of the siting passed, I haven't heard any problems in these neighborhoods when these group homes were sited because we've decided to follow through and just stand firm. So I think that allowing other cities to push the need into Los Angeles without accepting a fair share of responsibility, which Ron is right, is what's motivating this, would be a real shame for us to promote. And I join Rita and others who've urged voting no on item 10.
Ms. Misikowski?
Thank you, Mr. President. I share the sentiments, I think, of Ms. Walters and Mr. Fuhrer, but I think we can have perhaps an amendment that might bridge both issues. We have some land use control over group homes, daycare centers, where we, the city, do not have the right to say no, that they shall not be allowed, but we, the city, have the right to hold a local land use hearing to impose appropriate conditions. As it relates to daycare centers, those appropriate conditions might be hours of outside play, appropriate plans for drop-off and pickup, so we can impose conditions that help balance, help create the supervision, help impose those kinds of things that legitimate, responsible local control and planning might impose, but we don't have the authority to say no. We do not have the authority to say this cannot be there. So my recommendation would be to move an amendment that we allow approval of local control only with the caveat that the homes can be allowed in as legitimately sited in these areas, and that the local control is only to go through a process of hearing and setting appropriate conditions, but not necessary to say no and disallow. And in fact, it is precisely not to say no. And only with that would I think we create the leveling field and the leveling that all cities would have the ability to look at it as hearing-wise, but not say no, that they cannot be in our cities. So that is my amendment, that we amend our recommendation to say that local control not be allowed to disallow, but only impose reasonable conditions.
Mr. Holden, did you want to be heard? One more time. No, I'm not going to hold it.
Did he speak over this?
I just spoke on that.
Mr. President, members, I'm really disappointed in Mr. Deaton's presentation to the members of the council. Obviously, he's not a legislator. For if he were, he could have fixed the problem.
And he doesn't live in L.A. County.
He could have fixed the problem, recommended a fix to the problem that he discussed with you, saying that therefore, if we were to have local control, then all of the such homes would be concentrated in the city of Los Angeles. Instead of having fewer, we'll have more. Well, you didn't take that position of local control when an effort was made in Sacramento to take away local control from local government as it relates to conditional use permits for liquor stores. In fact, we had to go up and fight that legislation. And barely we were able to kill it because we want local control. We're going to make our communities better. Now, the over-concentration of a good thing is just as bad as over-concentration of a bad one. All you need to have done, Mr. Deaton, to fix the problem is to amend the proposed legislation that would state the following, for an example, that a community could not unreasonably deny a group home in that city. Or shall we say, when 6 requests have been denied, then it triggers where the state then preempts that local community. I mean, you could write legislation to clean the mess up that you even talked about. But you say blanket yes, blanket no. Hey, we amend legislation all the time. That's what it's all about. This can be fixed in a way in Sacramento where everybody is happy. Question is, can you get it enacted into law? It's nothing to say it's going to happen up there. But make it fair, make it equitable, and I think, like Ms. Akasi was trying to say, well, you can't unreasonably deny, however, we can have conditions set for which the home could be operating in the community. But what we're really talking about is really over-concentration. And you can fix the problem by amending it to saying that a city or a community cannot unreasonably deny and force a concentration on the city of Los Angeles or other cities that are similarly situated as we are in the metropolitan areas. So, Mr. Deaton, I thought that should have come from you, a fix to the problem, rather than say deny it and give control back to the state. That's completely out of the question. You have a chance to do something in your own community and you're going to turn your back on it? You got to be kidding. That's because you're afraid to bite the bullet. And Joe Wax is correct. You're afraid to bite the bullet because you don't want to say no, and you should be saying no sometime. And just give us an appropriate amendment on the order of what Ms. Sikorsky came up with, and we can vote for this thing and it'll be over and done with.
Okay, Mr. Pacheco.
I understand Mr. Savornich still has some comments. I was going to move the previous question, but if Mr. Savornich wants to make a statement, I won't.
Ms. Goldberg.
You know, I don't think any of this legislation actually has a chance of being enacted, but so it's probably moot. But I would say this. I think that as soon as you start saying reasonable, the question of reasonable will mean litigation because everybody's going to have a different definition of reasonable. Believe me, they will. In some cities, they will say it's not reasonable to have any here because we have so little housing already. Maybe that's a reasonable argument. I don't know. I do know, though, whenever you permit cities local control of an issue like this where they could literally ban them altogether, it is Los Angeles that pays. It is Oakland that pays. It is parts of San Diego that pay. It is the larger cities that get dumped on. And I think everybody needs to have some of these facilities because otherwise all we'll have is prisons from one end of the state to the other instead of rehab. Group homes also include kids who are in foster care. All of these things can be banned and are fought desperately in some cities that surround this city, and we're going to end up in a difficult situation. So I still take the position and would urge that we go to the CLA's unusual position of not supporting local control because in this particular case I think it is I think he's just right, and we need to follow their recommendation here.
Mr. Hernandez.
Members of council, I'm going to try and put this whole debate in some kind of context. Hopefully that's understandable. One, I think it proves why it's important that each and every one of us participate in the California League of Cities so that we can understand the perspectives from other communities that are not necessarily the city of Los Angeles and their attitude towards these kinds of issues. Because I think that when Ms. Chick used the word courage, I define courage as faith in action, and what we're saying is that other elected officials representing other communities would act the way we would. And we don't have that guarantee. In fact, when you understand that it was this huge city called Corona that introduced the legislation, you got to ask yourself, what does the city of Los Angeles and the city of Corona have in common? And why is it that we would be debating this issue? But to really put it in perspective, what we're talking about is group homes of 6 or less people. Now, how many of us have homes with 6 and less people in our city? I mean, look at our apartment buildings that are dealing with 18 people, 19 people in an apartment building, an apartment unit, because we have a housing crisis in the city of Los Angeles. And ask yourself, how could that happen when all elected officials in every city think the same? That is not reality, folks. That is not reality. But more important, when we're talking about and the kind of debate we had is not for homes of 6 or more people. It's for homes of 6 or less. It makes no sense to want that kind of control. I agree with Mr. Wax that we have to make tough decisions. And I think that's why it's our council actions that appear in the headlines of the LA Times, because we do have to make those tough decisions. The problem is other communities don't make those tough decisions. Other communities, these issues don't rise to that level of debate. And our reality is we have to start operating more as a community of a whole. And again, I don't think it's happening now, and I think it's going to take a lot of work. And I think Mr. Holden was correct when he made the statement that this could all be solved at the state level. He clearly stated that. It's not something that can be solved at our level.
Vornich?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council, Mr. Pacheco. One of the things that I think we need to put into context is what we mean by group homes in the context of the legislation and in regards to the context of this debate. Mr. Burnson was absolutely correct that there is both federal court decisions and maybe some state court decisions which defined who could be considered a family for the purposes of living together, and that's 6 persons, 6 adults choosing to live together is defined as a family and protected by the courts. That's just the way it is. Other laws that were passed also said that persons recovering from alcoholism or substance abuse are also considered disabled for the purposes of federal law and are protected under the Americans with Disabilities Act. So there's a whole bunch of laws that are out there that really make a lot of these issues moot. I think what we're talking about here today, however, is not where 6 consenting adults say, hey, let's all go share the rent and buy a house. What we're talking about in regards to this issue that is before us are individuals who have businesses that run recovery homes as a business. And what they do is they search for areas where there's a best value of a home, because they then contract with the state, I believe is where they get most of the contract, and that the state pays so much per person for the service that is provided by the group home for housing and for food and for the recovery programs. And so the issue, I believe, what is before us is not more than who gets to live together and why. It's that for a lot of these cases in the city of Los Angeles, this is a business. And the business is not being able to be regulated by the local jurisdiction. Now, of course, for health reasons, the state monitors it for health, the county, for living conditions, but in regards to where these businesses are being placed, we have no jurisdiction. Hence, one of the recommendations was that if someone is running a business, and as a business, that we should be able to have the opportunity to issue conditional use permits in regards to where that business is being located. For example, any one of us could go into the business of group homes if we were qualified or licensed for that particular recovery or that particular service, buy a home, and then go ahead and contract to have people assigned to the home. And so one of the things that I think we really have to understand is that we're not talking about people consensually living together. We are talking about people that are being assigned to or encouraged to live in one of these locations because of having to deal with a problem.
Thank you, Mrs. Chick.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. There's a reason why I never commit my votes to people advocating different sides on an issue, because I am always aware that new information can come forward at the last minute, and this has been a very informative debate. I wish that I had had the clarification from Mr. Deaton before I spoke the first time in terms of where this proposal came from and what its intent is. Mr. Deaton, when I'm done with my brief comments, if you would clarify for me, or Mr. Karsh, we are not supporting legislation that's before the state right now. We are, what is before us is simply to ask the California League of Cities to propose something in Sacramento, is that correct?
Well, what is before you is there's a resolution before the League of California Cities Conference this coming weekend relative to this. And what, this isn't actually a position for or against legislation. It's a position of whether or not we want the League of California Cities to
advocate on our behalf.
Advocate this issue.
Okay.
There can be legislation that we can sponsor one, or if another city sponsors, we can actually
Okay.
make amendment. This isn't legislation.
Okay, well, on the basis of what you pointed out in terms of, I trust that in this chamber, we can have the courageous debates and move to make the right decisions. I can't rest with confidence on what other cities in the state are going to do. So I am going to vote no against this today. But what I would be interested in terms of our going forward and looking at this complex issue, is further dialogue of Councilmember Miskowski's amendment in terms of the kinds of appropriate conditions without interfering with allowing these homes, but how we can shape more responsible ones, and perhaps supporting legislation that addresses your concern, Mr. Zvornich, and that is at the state level, that additional funding and more support is given to nonprofits that are operating these homes, that are providing very needed and responsible services to populations in need, rather than funding and assistance to for-profit that are businesses that are simply looking for the dollars to come in and not to really advance the cause of the need of these populations. So, colleagues, I think that there is no emergency here today to do this. We need more discussion. We shouldn't have the California League of Cities moving to perhaps end up making Los Angeles in a worse position on this than we are currently today.
All right, thank you. Ms. Galanter.
We already have the ability to put conditions on them. We've done it on the one in my district for years, the one that I know of. There may be others that I don't know of, but if no one's calling me about them, then we don't seem to have a problem. But the one that has been a problem, we have imposed a whole series of conditions. Yeah. There's zoning kinds of conditions about supervision and security and fence heights and setbacks and a whole bunch of stuff to try to make the impact, any potential negative impact, much less. And, you know, there's perpetual disagreement about how well it works, but nobody's been hurt. Nothing serious has happened.
It's under 6.
Okay. Okay. Okay, that seems to be the end of the debate. The public hearing is closed, Mr. Mann. Mr. Karsh, we'll take these one at a time, and you want to just give us a brief?
Yes, resolution number 1. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
So if it says like on item 1, it says disapprove, if we vote yes, we're voting
Yes.
Approved, that's right.
Yes.
Okay.
So we are looking at Mr. Holden's recommendations as chair of the committee. Resolution number 1 was to amend the Political Reform Act to allow an increase in the copying fees for government documents from 10 cents to 25 cents. Mr. Holden recommended disapprove. It is his recommendation that is before you.
All right, prepare the roll on that. On item
Resolution 1.
Item 1 of item 25.
Yes, disapprove.
Okay, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved to disapprove the amendment.
The resolution. Resolution number 2 is Concerning the distribution of the proceeds from the tobacco settlement, several cities want to see the money that goes to the 4 cities that were litigants, namely us, San Francisco, San Diego, and San Jose, to have the money redistributed evenly among all cities. The recommendation is to disapprove Resolution 2.
Okay. Prepare the roll on that. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is-
Resolution number 3 is to support reauthorization of the Older Americans Act. Recommendation is to approve.
Okay, prepare the roll on that one. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Resolution 4 is to support stable funding for libraries. Recommendation from Library Department and from Mr. Holden is to approve.
All right, prepare the roll on that. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved.
Resolution number 5 concerns the Public Employees Retirement System Board membership to add a representative of cities that would be nominated by the League of California Cities. This city does not belong to PERS. However, the concept is one that we have supported in other state legislation, and we recommend approval.
All right, number 5, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved.
Resolution 6 concerns the labeling of forest products. This is a carryover from last year for a resolution that we sponsored to the League of Cities. It was referred to committee for further discussion. It's been watered down, but what they've said is still good. It's essentially an education effort to tell all city governments about how nice it is to buy lumber, which is reasonably harvested in the forest, that sustainable policies have been followed.
Okay,
We
prepare
recommend
the roll.
approval.
Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Resolution number 7 concerns public notice and hearings under the California Environmental Quality Act. What is recommended in the resolution, which is from the city of Diamond Bar that failed to see notifications on some project. We already do this whenever we have a project, so we recommend approval.
All right, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. 8 and 9 are together.
Yes, it's, 8 has been dropped in favor of 9. They both have to do with the fluoridation of water. What it calls for is that no city be forced to fluoridate its water, and that efforts be made to overturn state legislation that encourages that. We have recommended no action on it, so has the committee chair, because we have voluntarily been fluoridating our water. We are not in a position to say that we think all cities should be doing it. Maybe some of us do believe that, but no action on the resolution would probably be the most appropriate, and that is the recommendation of this office and of Mr. Holden.
All right, 8 and 9, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Resolution number 10 is on group homes. The resolution is by the city of Corona, and they are seeking a position by the League of California Cities to establish local control over group homes of 6 or fewer in residential zones. Mr. Holden recommended approval. This office recommended disapproval.
Yeah, my understanding, there's a motion on the floor to disapprove that item.
Yes, Ms. Goldberg has a motion to disapprove.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
well, let's, if there's not 8 votes, it's not approved.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Prepare the roll on 10.
So ask for no vote.
Tabulate the vote.
5 ayes, 10 noes.
Okay, that failed.
Okay, so I'll now move that our position is disapproved.
Okay, prepare the roll on that motion to disapprove. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes, 3 noes.
Next item.
Resolution number 11 is to support the League of California Cities' effort to establish fiscal reform of state and local government finances. It's a fairly simple motion at this point, and we recommend approval.
All right, 11, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Emergency medical services, this is a position that the league has pursued for the last 2 years, and the city has been in support of it. The problem of EMS contracts for ambulances does not affect us. We have been always protected by a grandfathering clause, and the County of Los Angeles has seen to ambulance contracts for other cities, not ours. We're grandfathered in, but in some counties of the state, namely Ventura and Santa Clara, there have been some contract awards by the local EMS authority to nationwide ambulance services and denial to local ambulance providers, and it's the supporters of those local ambulance providers that are seeking a change in state law to allow for greater local voice before county EMS authorities. We have supported them in the past on the recommendation of our fire department. We continue to do so. Mr. Holden, I recommend approval.
Okay, prepare the roll on 12. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved.
Resolution number 13 is the Tag You Lose Anti-Graffiti Campaign. This is to support asking all cities in the state to enact some kind of an anti-graffiti campaign. Mentioned in the resolution is a program of suspending a driver's license or taking it away for convicted taggers. This raised some disapproval on the council. Mr. Holden recommended approval, as we had recommended. Ms. Goldberg recommends approval if amended to permit restrictions only on a driver's license short of a suspension.
Okay, we have the amendment. So prepare the roll on Ms. Goldberg's amendment. Tabulate the vote.
11 ayes, 4 noes.
That is approved. The next item.
Item number 14 is a resolution from the City of Gilroy and the Board of Directors of the League of Cities to oppose the use of the sale and promotion of the Scorcher-type color tread tires being marketed by Michelin and Goodrich. These tires are advertised to leave color on the pavement when you come to a screeching halt or you take off or you swerve around. It means you have to drive at high speeds. It encourages reckless driving, and it would also be tempting for the gang members to buy the tires at $255 a tire and then drive into the opponent's turf and then leave some rubber with your color on it.
Okay, item 4, yeah, they're expensive tires too. Item 14. Prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
Resolution number 15 concerns the change in state law to allow for proactive ordinance procedures. It has to do with cities that are taking over some military property that's been given up by the Department of Defense, and there is a worry about ordinance that's been buried in the ground, sort of a landmine type issue. The resolution itself is fairly unclear, and the League Committee that looked at this first in August recommended be referred to committee for further discussion. We agree with that, even though we don't have any property in the city that would probably be affected by it, but we think the recommendation to refer for further study is appropriate.
Okay, is there any objections to referring to league committees? Seeing none, that will be the order. Item number 16.
The last resolution, number 16, is a draft initiative being circulated by several cities in the county of Kern to restructure state finances to the extent of taking 1/2 of the state share of the sales tax and giving it to cities and counties. This could have a devastating impact on state programs, most of which we benefit from. We recommend disapproval.
Okay, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
That is approved. That completes it, so we'll send that forthwith, in as much as the league's meeting this weekend. All right, we have item number 1 we're going to take up now. We have a couple people that want to be heard on that item. We have Robin Howard and Lee Linden.
Good morning, council members. As I walked my son into Ms. Yoon's classroom this morning, they were saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and the last line of the pledge rang true to me: with liberty and justice for all. I appear before this representative body pursuant to a notice sent to inform my client, Mr. Linden, who's seated over here, that the Department of Building and Safety is asking the council to assess his property well over $53,000 for the cost of demolishing his partially fire-damaged medical office building located in the Santa Barbara Plaza Shopping Center, a long-standing subject of redevelopment projects before this very body. The assessment notice provided to the assessment notice provided Mr. Linden with the opportunity to appear here today and contest the assessment. The reason the notice was given was to afford Mr. Linden his constitutional right to due process. The problem is that Mr. Linden did not receive any notice at all before the city decided to destroy his building, even though the building was demolished a full 2 weeks after it was determined to be a, quote, present, imminent, extreme, and immediate hazard, close quote. As a result of the city's failure to notify Mr. Linden in advance of raising his building, Mr. Linden has filed an action against the city, which will go to trial in January of next year. Should Mr. Linden prevail, any assessment which is levied today would be void. Nevertheless, the city attorney and the Department of Building and Safety refused to continue the hearing at our request until after the trial, presumably to use any assessment levied by this body as leverage in the litigation. Therefore, our first request is that the city continue the hearing on this matter to allow the court process to come to its completion. Given the fact that the building was destroyed in March of 1997 and the trial is in January of 2000, after waiting all of this time to have this assessment hearing, why must it be pushed through now when the trial is very close by? Short of agreeing to a continuance, to the extent that the city determines this body determines to vote on the assessment today, we'd like the council to consider the following. The base amount that will be requested is $52,725 for the demolition of the building. In the materials submitted to the council, it is seen that Mr. Linden got an offer to demolish the building for $23,200. Why does it cost the city so much more to do the same work? Indeed, the very report that was attached to the notice that this city council is asked to confirm does not comply with the requirement that the council be informed of the cost to perform and supervise the work. Would this body approve payment of an invoice that simply says demolition costs $52,725? I think not. How can the council thus approve an assessment against a citizen's property based upon the scant information contained in the report that you're asked to approve today? Additionally, the Building and Safety Department admitted that they did nothing for 2 weeks from the time they made the determination till the time that the building was demolished to protect the public in any way from the allegedly hazardous building. There were no barricades put up. They've said no signs were put up. There was no taping off of the area, and they never even attested the building for asbestos before the demolition. By code, lack of notice is deemed a trade-off for the protection of public safety. And we recognize that, but neither occurred here. To the extent that this motion is proceeding under Los Angeles Municipal Code sections 91.8903 and 91.8904 as indicated, both of those sections mandate that the property owner be given notice and an opportunity to be heard or cured prior to the time that the city comes in and knocks down his building. My client videotaped the events of the morning of March 25th, 1997, and I urge this council to look at the videotape which has been provided to the city prior to voting to assess my client's property. Thank you very much, and my client would like to make a few comments as well.
Mr. Linden.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I was born in Los Angeles, I was raised in Los Angeles, and I was raised in this area. I have a home in the Baldwin Hills, which I just sold last month. My children were raised in the area. I had a restaurant at the Little Pietro's for 33 years. I attended to the building every day. I had an office in the building, and when the fire occurred, up to that time, there was only less than 1/3 of the building had been affected by the fire. I completely surrounded the building with a rent-a fence. All the windows were barred, and I had my maintenance man, who attended to the building for over 12, 13 years, stay on the property with full pay to watch the property during this time. He also had a man who slept in the property to see that there was no vandalism at night. We did everything we could to maintain the building during this period of time, and I just want to say that I would never have known that the building was demolished, except that my maintenance man called me to say when the heavy-duty equipment was moved into the area. Otherwise, I would have had a building that was gone, and I wouldn't have known where it had gone. The demolition of the building was unbelievable, because I had, even though I had an estimate of $23,000 to demolish the building, I also had estimates to fix the fire damage. The reason I had both of these estimates and didn't do it was because we were advised that the whole area was going to be redeveloped. The CRA and the redevelopers were meeting almost monthly, telling us that this was going to be done immediately, if not sooner. This went on for years. Even up till today, we expect the area to be redeveloped. I can only tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I did everything I could. And I really sincerely believe that we handled this in the best way I know. Los Angeles means an awful lot to me. I was born, raised, and I've been very happy here. I wouldn't live anywhere else. I thank you for your time.
We have somebody from the Building and Safety, and Mr. Ridley Thomas, we have item number 1 before us.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Angel Calvo. I'm with the LA Department of Building and Safety. This property was a property that came to our attention at a request from the council office. They said there was a fire damaged building in their district. They wanted us to take a look at it. We sent 2 inspectors to take a look at it, along with a city structural engineer. Upon inspection, they determined that the building was an immediate imminent hazard and needed to be demolished. They found evidence of transients living in the building, and the building also was open to entrance. It's in an area that's frequented by kids. There's a school nearby, and they were playing in the area of the building. I can't go into a lot of details. Obviously, this case is in litigation. The property owner is suing the city. City Attorney's office is here, just in case you have any questions on that. It was declared an imminent hazard. Basically, that means that the department moves to demo the building without having to give prior notice or give the owner a written order to comply.
Did you send out a notice, and did you get a response from the
No,
owner?
sir, because on an imminent hazard, it's not required. The emphasis is on mitigating the immediate imminent hazard rather than notification of the owner. The owner was aware of the demolition, though, because his handyman, employee, whatever, was at the job site. They were familiar with our inspectors and the engineer being at the site to conduct the original inspection, and they were present on the 25th of March when the demolition was scheduled to start, and they did have a meeting with our staff at that date.
Okay. Mr. Ridley Thomas, did you want to comment on item number 1? It's your district. When something's an imminent danger, you don't even notify the owner that you just tear it down. How long did it take you from the time you got the notice until you tore it down?
The engineering report is dated the 12th. That's when the engineer went out. It was demolished on the 25th. The time frame involved, we had, number 1, to get general services to gear up, get their personnel and equipment to demo the property. It was a 2-story fire-damaged office building. It takes a little bit more work to prepare for it than just going out and demolishing a fire-damaged garage. Also, the utilities were all still in place. We had to have the gas company, the DWP, go out and disconnect all the utilities before demolition could begin.
Mr. Ridley Thomas?
Mr. President, pursuant to the advice of the city attorney, I submit 1A to amend the motion that effectively addresses the cost that would be borne. They make this recommendation because the work was performed by the General Services Department, and therefore those administrative costs are not applicable. I so move.
Hernandez?
I just wanted to ask, in terms of the imminent hazard issue, do we post the building at all?
Yes, sir, it's posted with a declaration of imminent hazard and with a vacate order.
And how long is that process, posting?
That is done at the time it's declared an imminent hazard.
And then, in this instance, we posted the building, and when did you start demolishing it?
Demolition occurred on the 25th of March, 1997.
So it's posted at least for 2 weeks?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just wanted to clear that up because we came up with this ordinance based on extreme hazards and public safety. And part of that includes the posting to make the public aware of the hazard and the reality that we have some problems with the building.
The attorney, I think, has something to say.
Thank you, Council President Ferraro. Yes, we've taken testimony from building and safety employees in this case, and there was no posting of any notices around the building. In fact, if you view the videotape, you can see that for yourself. Additionally, there was nothing in any of the testimony that has been given by any of the building and safety inspectors, and I believe we've taken 5 of them so far, that there was anything in the reports in their file or anything that was given by any of the inspectors that talked about children playing around the school. This is the first that we've heard of it, and we've been involved in this litigation for 18 months. There was no posting.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do you want to respond to that?
The procedure is that the building is posted with a vacate order. Also, I'm not aware of any kind of statements or videotapes or anything of kids playing around. However, this building was in a thoroughfare. There is a school nearby, and the kids do frequent the area.
But I think there should be some kind of a notice to the owner when you're going to tear a building down, regardless of, because you didn't tear it down immediately. It took 10 days. In the meantime, you could have notified the owner. Ms. Sikowski?
I would just like a clarification on the posting. You indicated that the procedure is to post and that this occurred in this location. Normally, when we post, we take a picture of the posting ourselves. Do we have that confirmation here of either a dated picture showing that the posting did occur?
I do not have a copy of that picture, no.
And can you, although you've indicated that it's procedure that it is posted, do you have any other confirmation or verification by city personnel that it was posted? That seems to be at issue. Rather than just the procedure is that we do it, do we have information in this instance that it was done?
Not at this time, no.
I think that we at least ought to clarify that and continue this perhaps for the next time the council meets, just to get that confirmation, because that may be a very significant issue, is if we require the posting procedures that it occurs, yet we don't have evidence that occurred. I think we need to further investigate that. So I would move, if there's no objection, a continuance to Friday.
I think the council should be fully comfortable with the decision that is being made, and if in fact there's a question being raised that perhaps the procedures were not followed as they could have been and or should have been, and the recommendation is being made with confidence pursuant to following the procedure, then the appropriate evidence of that ought to be made clear to all of us. Having said that, Ms. Sikowski, if it is advisable, deemed advisable, Madam President, to continue. I am not inclined to object. I do want to say the following. It is hardly unusual for persons to protest assessments, and they go to considerable lengths to do so, when in fact, had they taken care of the matter that should have been taken care of, there would be no need to protest. And the protest that often happens is by the constituents, the businesses and the like, who have to witness and or live with undesirable conditions. All of us know that, as we have experienced this within our respective districts. Having said that, I think it is very important that we proceed with full confidence that we have done this according to the code and follow the procedures as they have been outlined. To the extent that there is a question and a member wishes to have it continued, Madam President, I'm prepared to consent accordingly.
All right, then, without objection, we'll continue this till Friday and ask you to supply the information that the council members have asked for.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Next item.
Item number 16 is still on the desk.
Yeah, but she, I was notified by our office that she was satisfied, so if there's no further discussion, 16, prepare the roll. 16. All right, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
Fourteen ayes.
That is approved. Now we have 26, is it? Prepare the roll, who called 26? Mr. Padilla?
Yes, similar to item 10, I just wanted to,
Some miscommunication on item 16, because Ms. Goldberg had pointed some things out to me she wanted me to point out to staff. And
Her staff came up and told me that she was satisfied.
well, she asked me to ask some questions of staff, so then I'd like to be able to do that if I could.
Okay, all right. Well, we're on number 29 right now, 27, 26 right now.
Okay, we're on 26 right now.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead. And
yes, on item 26, also support the recommendations, but wanted to amend part 2 of the recommendation to have the report back to both Public Safety and ITGS also.
All right, is there any objections to that? Seeing none, then prepares 26 as amended. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
That is approved. All right, we'll go back to 16. Mr. Hernandez?
If we could have staff up here that's, members of the council, first of all, could you tell me what an OBE is? I know what an MBE is, a WBE. OBE is a new term for me, and I deal with these all the time.
The designation of OBE is a designation given by our contract compliance office. It's when a prime has submitted in a firm, they designate it either as a MBE or a WBE. Through checking through verification that the firm has either met an MBE or is certified WBE, the firm may be either renewing it or has not been registered as either. And therefore, our contract compliance lists it as other business enterprise. And the reason why they have to list that down is in the contracts, their subs are part of the contract. They cannot substitute unless the city agrees to substitution. So they're saying that if this firm does get certified within that time, it will then be counted as either an MBE or a WBE.
So right now, but in the report before us, you mentioned OBE as if it's an MBE or WBE.
It's correct. They don't.
On the report before us.
That's correct.
Okay, here comes city attorney rushing up and,
Oh, no, thank you.
Christopher Westhoff, Assistant City Attorney. OBE stands for Other Business Enterprise. It is any subcontractor or subconsultant that does not qualify as an MBE or WBE. It is part of our outreach program. When the council adopted and the mayor adopted the outreach program in compliance with the Croson decision that came down, we created an MBE, WBE, OBE program. So it is any business that does not qualify as an MBE or a WBE.
So it doesn't necessarily mean it's an MBE or a WBE?
Correct.
What it does mean, it doesn't qualify for that at that time?
At that time, it just is any other contractor who is not a certified MBE or WBE.
Okay, I just wanted to point that out because it is reflected on the report as an MBE or WBE, and we had a question mark about that. Members of the council, I think part of what when these reports are not part of these contracts, we ask questions, and I need staff to understand that. But when you talk about firms who receive contracts to perform work greater than $100,000, what is greater than $100,000? Up to what dollar figure?
It's just that when they do perform work, if they have a contract, they can do work themselves for over 100,000.
Yeah, could they do work for 10 million?
At this case, yes. It's just as long as it's over 100,000, that's the cutoff point we
Could they
made.
do work for 100 million?
The answer is anything over 100,000.
So under that category, the firms that participated, basically how many of the firms, the main firms, are MBE, WBEs?
We have 5 that are MBE, 5 of the 21 firms are an MBE or a W, 3 that are MBEs, 2 that are WBEs.
I'm talking about the ones that can do work over 100,000.
There are 2 firms that can do work over 100,000. One is an MBE and the other is a WBE.
Okay, as I saw the report you had, I saw 1, 2,
These are of the
3,
primes.
4, 5, the prime, right, primes, right?
Yes.
So of the primes, how many are MBE, WBEs?
At this, we don't normally count the primes at this point. It's what designation they are. We're only looking at their subcontractors.
Yeah.
We have information right now that
We
5
look
of
at their
them.
subs, but we don't look at the primes.
Right. At this point, we have information that 5 are at least an MBE, WBE. We'd have to contact the other firms to get a designation from them.
Well, that wasn't reflected on the report. I'm just pointing out what was reflected, what's not reflected. So the big dollars, we didn't reflect the primes, but we did reflect their subs.
Right.
And I can report to the council that of the subs, 18% are MBEs and 4% are WBEs.
Our goal would be for them to have a participation of 18 and 4, correct?
Now, of those firms that can do work of 100,000 or less,
Yes.
27% were MBEs or WBEs.
Again, because they're primes, we don't have a designation
Right.
as to what they are. 3 of them, like I said, that we know of right now are an MBE or a WBE firm.
Yeah, and how long will these consulting contracts be in place?
They're 3 years with extension of a 1 year and a 1 year.
Okay. Is it possible for us to hold this item over till Friday, Mr. President, so that we could have further discussion without taking it up on the full council floor?
I won't speak either.
Is there an urgency we approve this list today?
We do have some contracts that we're trying to get these issued to, having to do with on Alameda Corp. Okay.
Yeah, but is there an urgency between now and Friday?
No.
Okay, it's the way the...
Well, let's continue until Tuesday then.
Okay, till Tuesday. Oh, well, we won't be meeting Tuesday, so it'll have to be Wednesday, I guess, Mr. President. Wednesday?
Wednesday. Is there a Wednesday, any problem with Wednesday? All right, Mr. Holden?
No, I'll wait. Mr. President, I'll wait until Wednesday. I don't want to take up the court's time.
Okay. Okay, then we'll continue that until Wednesday. Next item.
Item number 29, called special by Councilmember Hernandez.
Mr. Hernandez,
Yeah,
you're taking Mr. Holden's place as the...
Mr. President, and it's not intentionally, you know I would never try to be Mr. Holden. I'm trying very hard to be Mr. Hernandez nowadays. Mr. President, members of the council, on this particular item, I know it's in Council District 9. It's a Rule 16 motion, so it didn't come with a committee report, and the information is rather limited, so maybe Ms. Walters can answer it. What I understand is we demolished the building, and it cost the city $350,000. And what we're doing now is asking that we reduce that cost to $250,000. Now, I know that when I tried, for example, to settle Little League up at Bishop Canyon, there was a $7,000 issue that was of great concern to Ms. Walters because it's public money. And so I needed to know what is the justification for us basically granting a $100,000 gift of public funds to this particular landowner, and how it is that we can justify it legally. Now, I know that I introduced the motion with Ms. Walters, or she introduced the motion, I supported when we had a personal hardship on someone who was a victim of a scam artist. And I understood that reality. On this one, I'm trying to find out what the reality is, why we're being asked to waive $100,000 of city coffer monies in regards to demolition.
Mrs. Walters?
Mr. Westhoff, for Mr. Hernandez's information, would you go through the steps here? And I'd like the council to note that we made every attempt to answer Mr. Hernandez's questions, and he had none at that time.
I have never had any, Ms. Walters, of anything, you've been absent every time this item came up.
Thank you. Christopher Westhoff, Assistant City Attorney. A number of months ago, I was asked to get involved in an issue which existed with actually two pieces of property. There are two buildings on Figueroa in Councilmember Walters' district. And the issue revolved around a similar issue to what this council just heard a couple of items ago with a demolition lien. Apparently, the property in question was the subject of earthquake damage immediately after the earthquake, and then was potentially subject to vandalism damage thereafter. During an exchange of ownership with the property, the building was tagged as an imminent hazard. The new owner, who had just taken ownership of the buildings, requested from Building and Safety the ability to put off the demolition of the two properties till at least, this was on a Friday, till at least Tuesday. There was a 3-day weekend, I believe, when these buildings ultimately were demolished. He was not given the opportunity. He believed he could do it a lot less expensively than the city's demolition. The city conducted the demolition over a 3-day weekend and accumulated potential costs of $350,000. The owner of the property, the current owner of the property, had a bid from a contractor to do it for somewhere over $100,000. The issue, quite frankly, is there are tenants on that property now. Part of the property has been redeveloped. Part of the property is potentially redevelopable for a supermarket in that area, and some of the tenants are concerned about the demolition lien. What we are doing is, right now it's a lien. The city has not obtained any money relative to the demolition that was done on those two pieces of those two buildings. This was not city money that was ultimately spent on this. This was part of the earthquake recovery money that the city received that was used to demolish those two buildings. The agreement would be that the current owner of the building would pay the city $50,000 in cash, which is money that we don't have at this point, and create a payment program for approximately $200,000 of the lien, for a total payment to the city of $250,000 plus interest on the $200,000. Right now, what we have is we have a piece of property that can't be developed because of the lien, and the city has no money. We sat down with the council office, we sat down with the owner, we sat down with Building and Safety, we sat down with other city entities that were going to be involved in the redevelopment of the property, and the agreement that was struck was that, unlike the information that we had from the property owner, that he could have demolished it for between $100 and $125, he was willing to pay the city $250,000, even though he believed that he could have done it for half of that amount. And the property would be redeveloped, and we would receive $50,000 in cash, and the property owner would waive any right that he might have to challenge that lien were we to try and enforce that lien. So basically, it is a compromise of a situation where the property owner requested a mere 3 or 4 days delay in the demolition of the property, asked for that delay because he was the brand new owner, was refused that delay, and the city demolished the building. So this is a compromise that has been worked out. It will, again, give the city money in hand that it doesn't have right now, and it will provide for the redevelopment of that piece of property in CD9.
Is there a gift of any public money involved in this?
I do not believe so, no.
All right.
If I did, I would not have participated in the recommendation.
Thank you very much.
If you reduce the amount that we thought was
Correct.
proper, it's taking away from the public treasury, isn't it?
Well, it is a compromise because the owner will be giving up his right to basically defend against that lien by agreeing to pay the $250,000, which will remain as the demolition lien. And in return, we get money, we get $50,000 in cash, and we get a payment plan for the remaining $200,000. Right now, all we have is a piece of paper that says we have a lien on the property.
And if the owner went to litigation, it would be far more costly to the city. As I recall, Mr. Ferraro and Mr. Hernandez, this was over a 4th of July weekend, and the man literally took possession of the property on that Friday or Thursday or Friday, did he not, Mr. Westhoff?
It's my understanding that it was just previous to his request to put off the demolition until the following
Right, and he
week.
wanted to get past the 4th of July holiday.
Correct. He had a contractor that he believed would demolish it that following week for somewhere between $100,000 and $125,000.
Thank you very much, Mr. Westhoff. And Mr. Hernandez, my staff tried on repeated occasions to get some questions, get from your staff, what your concerns were and to talk about them. I'm sorry if that information did not get to you.
Why does it cost so much more from the
Right.
city than from private? Because we had that last one, it was...
Yeah, I'm trying to,
I can give you, well, for starters, the city uses higher grade labor. We pay obviously higher price. We used regular city employees to do this demolition. There was no recycling that was done on any of the material that was taken out of these two buildings. We paid a premium for disposal of the debris in a landfill rather than trying to work out. I mean, there are all sorts of reasons that went into it.
Holiday pay
Correct.
on
Well,
the weekend,
again,
because the weekend was a holiday?
We worked over a 3-day weekend. I mean, there were all sorts of factors.
And how long was the building in that condition before you?
It had been in a condition for
So
a number of months.
you couldn't wait over the weekend? Okay, Mr. Hernandez.
Yeah, Mr. President, members of council, and maybe the word consistency should apply here. We just had a matter before us where litigation is threatening. I mean, if we're saying that our eminent hazard ordinance should not apply, and I'm talking about the California hotel that had 2 fires and had transients living there and was a public safety hazard, and we had to get that building down. Okay? This was an earthquake damaged building. Clearly, it was an eminent hazard. The Building and Safety defined it as that, and they felt it had to go down. And our city attorney is sitting here telling us, well, maybe it didn't have to go down. Now, we as a city expend $350,000. That's what we believe we're entitled to. And I'm listening to our city attorney tell us, yeah, but if he sues us, maybe we're not entitled to $350,000. And I'm concerned about policy statements on all our eminent domain cases. And in asking the question, see, if we want to basically provide $100,000 to make the economic development project work in terms of performing a market, we have programs to do that, and we work that way. But to be jeopardizing our eminent hazard ordinance and to be taking a position that's going to open us that every time we knock one of these buildings down, all someone has to do is yell lawsuit, and to question the costs we're charging, I'm asking these facts. Because my understanding is you had a previous owner of a building that wasn't taking care of it. And we chose to demolish it because it was an eminent hazard. In that process, someone new was buying it. That someone new was saying, I could have got someone at a lower dollar figure. If I was being asked to provide someone $100,000 as a subsidy and I sit on the CED committee to build the market, we review the numbers and we find out if it's true or not true. So right now, this policy that's being questioned is creating a lot of question marks in my mind. Maybe we charge everybody too much money when we demolish buildings, and we should be looking at those costs, if that's what the city attorney is saying. And I'd like the city attorney to address those kinds of questions. Were we right in knocking down the building? Did we do everything properly? Was it an eminent hazard? And the reality, are we entitled to collect the $350,000?
Councilman, I was not present, nor did I participate in the decision to declare it an imminent hazard, so I really can't venture a guess.
You are the city attorney's office. You're going to have to defend this city.
That is correct, and my recommendation on these specific facts It has nothing to do with the policy, but on these specific facts are, and I present it to you to solve this particular problem, is that these facts, in my mind, support the motion that was made by Councilmember Walters. I believe that the city's right to take down buildings that are imminent hazard is not going to be jeopardized by this council's decision on this particular policy. But this particular parcel. But every time you use that imminent hazard, you potentially run the risk, and we are involved in a major lawsuit over the medical plaza at Barrington Plaza that we took down that was clearly an imminent hazard. There was no doubt it's a multiple-story building that was literally leaning, and we're involved in litigation on that. You had, Deputy City Attorney Sandy Thomas, who is litigating the case that was before you just a few moments ago. In that particular instance, those people are suing us to pay them money, not just to get out of the lien, but to pay them money for having demolished their building. Here, we have a situation where the property owner is willing to pay the city $250,000 that we don't have right now. What we have is a piece of paper.
A lien that we put on a lot of pieces of property when they owe us money.
And I will tell you that most of the time, those liens are never collected. So in this particular instance, we have the ability to collect $250,000 guaranteed to the city.
But is it a lien on the property?
Correct.
And then the property's not worth...
Sometimes, as you know, we put liens on lots of pieces of property. We put liens when we clean lots, and and this council and my Board of Public Works that I represent, that I advise, here's people coming in and screaming at them, how come it costs the city 10 times what it would cost me to clean a lot? That's just the way it works when you use city forces, when you have it burdened by overhead and so forth. And so people can, and that's why we encourage people to clean their own lots, because it costs us more to do it.
All right, Mr.
The same
Burns.
thing goes with demolition.
Mr. Burnson?
Yes, well, to start with, on the cleaning of lots, basically there's an administrative penalty that goes with it. That's why
Correct.
it costs more. Let me just ask a question. On these types of buildings, this was an earthquake-damaged building.
Correct.
Was it fenced off so that the public could not access it, or what?
I'm not positive whether there was fencing at one time. I do believe that the public did obtain access to this, and there was some additional vandalism that was caused to the buildings.
Okay, because normally when something is a danger and there's a question of whether it's going to be repaired or not, the city acts and has the ability to do the fencing and to put a lien against the property.
Correct.
And that's the proper way to go until that's determined. It seems to me, based upon what I've heard, that even under an imminent danger situation, we should make some effort to contact the owners of the property. Posting is just one method if you can't reach them. That protects the city. But we should make an effort to give them a last-minute notice, particularly if it takes a couple weeks from the time they get the notice and the time the actual demolition takes place. Also, on liens, why don't we, like other areas do, why don't we put property tax liens against the property? So that if they don't pay the lien, we don't have to wait till the property's sold or anything. We can execute a foreclosure or whatever on the tax purposes and auction the property off. I mean, other agencies do that, and yet we sit holding liens forever and we don't collect the money. We need to change our policy on that. So I am concerned about this. I know that we want to make sure our neighbors are safe, but this sat here for it's been almost 5 years since the earthquake. When was it demolished?
I don't have that date. We have Raul, do you? Fred?
Well, I'm just curious whether it sat there for quite a period of time.
1996.
It was demolished in 96. It is.
And the earthquake was in 94, is that correct?
Correct.
So it was there for 2 years. So evidently, the imminent danger must have existed all that time. And
Now,
yet
Mr. Burnson, let me describe to you the condition the property was in. It was sitting there a long time, and it was in danger. But the danger increased because the prior owner had put up some rickety scaffolding that youngsters were climbing up and taking loose the bricks and the parts of it. There'd been a fire, as I recall, on the property, and the fear was that that thing was going to fall on somebody walking down the street.
I'm not questioning whether this was an appropriate tear down. That's not, I rely upon your judgment on that, because it is your district. But what I am questioning is perhaps the procedures that we go through as a city in dealing with these problems. First of all, I'm going to bring in a motion that in the future, that all liens against property for penalty causes, such as where we're forced to take an action for emergency purposes or for lot clearing or any other purpose, that these liens be in the form of liens that go on the tax bill. Therefore, we don't have to wait forever to collect. That's number one. Number two, I suggest, and perhaps we need to amend the ordinance, that we make an attempt to contact the owners prior to a emergency demolition. Even if we've had prior discussions with them, we should at least give them a final notice, if possible. So that's my suggestion. I'm going to support this. I have some misgivings about it, but I will tell you I will support it.
Also, I think that the city shouldn't do the work over the weekend if it's an expensive weekend, and they can put some marshal or some fire guard to protect. All right, Mrs. Walters?
I think that was about all I had to say. I wanted to give Mr. Burnson some picture of what the building was like, what condition it was like. And the current purchaser, or the person who owns it now, had purchased the building, knew that it had been posted, and tried to get building safety, as Mr. Westhoff said, to wait over the weekend, to give him until after the 4th to get this thing torn down. And it may very well argue for some examination of the policy. But I want to thank Mr. Westhoff personally for the outstanding work that you did in bringing all the departments, all the people who were involved in this thing, as well as the owners, to an agreement that I believe is in the best interest of the city. And I appreciate your work very much.
Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, Mr. President, based on the recommendation of the city attorney's office and all the work and the presentation by Ms. Walters, I will also, being that it's in her district, recommend that we approve this issue. I thought it was important that we have the discussion, that it be brought on the table. We understand why this is different than all the other ones. And I hope that the new owner does use the $100,000 savings as an investment in that community and produces that market. But at the same time, I just thought this was a little different than most other cases, and I wanted to ask those questions so that we could have that distinguishing fact.
You say they're going to give $50,000 cash, and then you're going to give you paper for the other?
We're going to set up a payment plan with interest with them.
And
so
are they going to personally be responsible for that payment?
Yes.
Okay. Prepare the roll on item number 29. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item.
This is the time for comments from the public on non-agenda items.
Okay, we have Kathy Knight and Patricia McPherson.
Yes, thank you, Council. I want to make some general comments today on the proposed Playa Vista project on the Ballona wetlands ecosystem. I am very concerned that there is a major lack of disclosure going on this proposed project regarding the toxic gas problem. You need to have public hearings on the toxic gas, otherwise it'll be another Bell Mountain number 2. There is a lack of disclosure going on the bonds, the housing bonds. There was a caveat that methane report had to be made, but there was no caveat like you had today on the Mello-Roos that toxics had to be studied on the housing bonds. You need to add that to the housing bond issue. Also, according to bond attorneys we've talked to, there's a danger that you could be committing fraud under the Federal Securities Exchange Commission regulations if you do not disclose all risk to these bonds, because there's innocent bond buyers that go out there and sometimes put the retirement money into buying these tax-free bonds. And there's precedent in Riverside where it turned out the housing did not get built, and the IRS came after these innocent people for penalties, taxes they owed, and everything else. So there is a major risk here. Also, you have put these caveats on the bond so far, but you have not taken the second step to find out what exactly is the toxic gas issue. At this point, nobody knows where the gas is coming from. Nobody. It could be coming from an underground gas storage facility on the land with an unending source of methane with carcinogens coming out in it that's piped in from Texas, Oklahoma, Bakersfield. You don't know what's going on, neither does a developer. Nobody knows. And I also want to point out there's been a previous lack of good faith with Morgan Stanley, Dean Witter, and Goldman Sachs, the majority owners of this land. They commissioned a study on the gases in October '97. That was not given to your department. We probably assume it was not given to Councilwoman Ruth Galaner, or she would have called it to the attention of Building and Safety. That study showed elevated methane levels under practically the entire residential section of Phase 1. That sat there and was not disclosed. Because of a citizen with volunteer time, she got a Freedom of Information Act request, went to the LA Regional Water Quality Control Board, spent days researching there, came across it, and she had to walk it over to Building and Safety. That was the first that they knew of it. She walked it over in 1999. The study came out in October '97 for Morgan Stanley, Dean Witter, and Goldman Sachs. They are now threatening to sue us over disclosing a lot of this information. It is not appropriate to have citizens have to bear this burden. Luckily, there's a process under the California Environmental Quality Act that says you can ask for a subsequent environmental impact report to be done when you have new information not known when you approved the EIR in '93. That's what's happening. The gas issue was not involved in '93. Okay, I will finish up. You can do an SER. We're asking for that today, and we agree with Councilwoman Cindy Miskowski that possibly if there's a methane gas problem, the best thing to do with this land is to leave it as vacant open space. Thank you.
Kathy McPherson.
Patricia McPherson, Grassroots. I just wanted to bring to your attention that we are asking for your assistance in granting an SEIR under the California Environmental Quality Act, as Kathy just stated. If you have changed circumstances, which we do have on the Playa Vista property because it is now designated as a high methane risk area, the first since 1985, and the Fairfax codes were established. And also we have new information that wasn't known at the time that 93 EIR was certified. In addition to that, I'm asking to bring your attention to the fact that new codes and guidelines need to be established for dealing with the multiple hazards associated with thermogenic gas. We've put forth an outline of a protocol for dealing what we have learned through the investigation of Belmont and Bayona, Playa Vista, that are very serious, difficult, and in legal terms, ultra-hazardous conditions that must be dealt with utmost care, which is also another legal term. We've learned that the geological and hydrological conditions of oil and natural gas field settings can be very quirky, dangerous, and unique. The current gas seep at Wilshire and Curson, Mr. Farrar, which is in your area, for example, demonstrates the need for updating the city's old codes. The codes were not designed to deal with toxic gases. The codes were unclear as to the methodology of how to respond to emergencies, and building practices that include the presence of toxic hazardous gas seeps in a coordinated way. The gas seep at the Curson-Wilshire area right now still has a Band-Aid fix to it, and we've been working with the mayor's office in putting forth this protocol. We'd like your help with putting forth this protocol, which would include what's called systems engineering, which we're also asking for to happen at Belmont. Systems engineering methodology is used by the United States military as well as the private sector in many critical, potentially hazardous scientific protocol settings, and it's not being utilized here in Los Angeles. The systems engineering approach, which is a long-time, well-established scientific protocol for conducting assessments and implementing ideas and new technology, is a necessary tool in order to establish and ensure the integrity of design and the performance of personnel. It's a key methodology for various expert disciplines to be able to work together in concert in order to achieve the highest safety standards when human life is at risk. So we are going forward with this, and we would like your assistance in making this happen, and we're out there working on this, so please give us a hand.
Thank you very much. That's all the cards we have, so the public comment period is closed. Next item.
Motions for posting and referral.
Unanimous vote?
You have two excuses, requests to be excused on the desk. Councilmember Svornish request to be excused Tuesday, October 19th. Personal business meets council policy.
Unanimous vote.
Councilmember Galanter request to be excused October 19th. Personal business meets council policy.
Unanimous vote. We have special one, we got to take that in open session, and then it's going to go in an executive session, so.
Mr. President, members, this is a motion from Councilman Fuhrer to allow the city attorney to make a presentation of a settlement offer in a matter that's pending in court today, Hawkins et al. Versus the City of Los Angeles. In order for the council to rule on the motion from Councilman Fuhrer, there needs to be a finding made that pursuant to the provisions of the government code and the rules of the city council that there is a need to take immediate action on this matter, and that the need for action on this matter came to the attention subsequent to the posting of today's city council agenda.
So moved.
Okay, let's vote on the findings. Prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, then we're going to take that into executive session. So, all those not involved with the executive session, please leave the council chamber. Session, the next item?
The desk is clear, Mr. President.
The desk is clear. Do we have anything else? Adjourning motions, would everyone please stand? Anybody, everyone please stand.
Smith, don't go away.
Miss Sikowski?
President, I would like the council to adjourn in the memory of Frank Majewski. Frank was my great-uncle who died last night at the age of 103 and 7 months. He immigrated as a young boy with his family from Poland at the age of 11, and shortly thereafter volunteered for the U.S. Army in World War I. As a consequence of that volunteering, he became a U.S. citizen. He then, after leaving the Army, moved to what was then known as the Old Soldiers' Home on the VA ground in West L.A. He lived there, apparently, intending on being a lifelong bachelor living in those accommodations, where he opened a fix-it shop on San Vicente Boulevard. But in his mid-50s, he married for the first time, and that marriage, to his first wife, lasted for 35 years. He also then moved to Van Nuys, where he became the oldest customer of the Harley-Davidson motorcycle shop on Van Nuys Boulevard, riding it into his 80s. He then, his wife Emily died, and he became very active at the senior citizen centers and married again at the age of 99. He inspired all of us in his family with a love of life, a verve, a sense of curiosity, and although he is gone, that spirit and the way of living life will be with us all.
All members,
Mr. President.
All members. How old was he?
Almost 104. 103.
103. Term limits. Call the roll. The council is adjourned.